What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Coruscant and Lego. This week is going to be a week of completion. I have all the parts in. I'm motivated. The time is now. I'm finally going to finish the clone base and officially check off one of the sections of Coruscant as being finished. I'm also going to be working on the Senate building and laying out where the pillars are going to go. At the end of last week, I had this thought that made me realize I don't necessarily have to know where exactly the roof is going to be in order to put the pillars in, but we'll discuss that more later. And I'm also just going to be building everywhere. Pretty much any area you can think of on the mock, we're probably going to be there at some point. All that being said, I've got good stuff planned, so don't forget to execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get started. In honor of finishing things this week, I decided I might as well build the rest of the frame. I got a ton of black plate in a couple of weeks ago, so I should have all the tools for success here. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but there are going to be a lot more of these random things montages as we near the finale, and I'm completing the random unfinished pockets of the mock. I'm also going to tile off the rest of the base floor. I came up with a new way of tiling floors that is an absolute game changer for me. One of the issues I run into when the floor I build is mostly tile is that I don't have very many studs for placing down minifigs and builds, and the studs I do have aren't always in the places that I need them. So now instead of placing the tile and the plate at the same time, I pick an area to work on and add just the plates. This allows me to plan out where I want the exposed studs to be and how many I'll have. And once that is done, I can easily fill in the rest of the space with tile. This may seem like an obvious way of doing it to you, but for me, this was a real light bulb moment. I'm also going to tile off most of the bank wall facing the Senate building. This is the last big wall that needs to be tiled off, and I need to be more aggressive with tiling things, so I don't get to the end of the series and have like 10,000 more tiles to place. It's just hard to go back and tile over things I've already built because I know it's not very exciting content for you and it's kind of boring for me. Plus, I like to save the bulk of my tiles for when I have to design or build a new section of the mock, but we're nearing the end here, so it's time to open up the tile floodgates. I'm also going to add a set of wires running up the side of the bank because wires are cool. Alright, it's Coruscant time. So nothing too crazy happened over the weekend. I did get that whole plateau fixed, so it's now at the correct height, and I believe pretty much completely tiled off, so I'm just waiting for the statues and it'll be done. Same with this one over here. But on to what I was just barely doing. I got this base floor all tiled off and it looks so good. I'm so excited to finally be able to finish a section of this mock, and really the only thing I have left to do is finish putting in like the crates and canisters back there and figure out what I want this layout to look like, and then finish the armory. I have to put the rest of the floor in, and then I'm thinking about adding another one of these racks for some DC-15 blasters over here on this side, but that'll be pretty easy to finish up in just a second. Moving on to the bank, just want to show you guys this wall really quick. It's looking really good. This bank is going to be a lot smoother than the other two buildings because I recently started buying these 6x6 tiles on Bricklink because I found a store that was selling them for really cheap, and it was cheaper to cover up this much space with one 6x6 tile than to buy, 2x4 tiles. But here's where I got really lucky. They recently popped up on the best sellers list on the Pick a Brick wall, so I was able to get them for even cheaper than Bricklink, like 50 cents for brand new tiles, and they shipped to me in like 5 days, which was awesome. So that means there's just going to be less studs on here because the 6x6 tiles take up more space, whereas when I was building these other buildings, I didn't have any of those. So there's a lot more 2x2s and 2x4s, so I had to supplement in a lot more plates. But I think that's okay. It'll give each of the buildings, just a little bit more uniqueness and kind of personality. And this is supposed to be like, a high society fancy bank. So the fact that it's smoother and a little shinier looking will help represent that. Whereas, this entertainment complex has been lived in. It might be a little bit older, so it's got more studs. It just looks a little bit more rough around the edges. But that's everything I have to update you guys on for that. It is time to once again return to the Senate building. And this time I'm going to be working on the pillars because I got a huge haul in. The online Pick-a-Brick wall from Lego came in so clutch. Like I said, I got these 6x6 tiles for super cheap, and then I got a bunch of other colors, and then I got a ton of these cylinders for the wall. The cool thing too about the Pick-a-Brick wall is all these parts are brand new, so they're so shiny and clean. It's awesome. And then I got about 1,000 of these noodle bricks in. These are going to be for those pillars. These are going to be for the pillars. I was showing you guys that design last week. And then we got a bunch of brick. I'm hoping this will be most of the brick I need. for the rest of the road. Over here in this package, we have some similar stuff, some 1x3 light bluish gray brick. That's just going to be for walls, bank walls, entertainment complex, pillars, all that good stuff. But that's not all. I've got a little minifig haul here. I'm going to throw these down right here. So first up, we've got a very angry Severus Snape. The reason I bought this is because I wanted his torso, just kind of like, fancier robes I felt would look good for some kind of senator. And then I had the exact same thought process with Harry here. I'm going to remove the head, make myself another generic senator. And then I also got Grief Karga. I figured, he's old. He's probably been around for a while. Maybe he was running around the streets of Coruscant during the Republic era at some point. It is so nice to finally be finishing the clone base. It's all been waiting on those dark bluish gray tiles for the floor. I've talked about this before, but for some reason they're really hard to find in quantities of over 10. I can find light bluish gray, black, dark tan, but the elusive dark bluish gray tile is nowhere to be found. In fact, I've had to start ordering them from the online Pick-a-Brick wall on Lego because that's the only place I can find it for a decent price in large quantities. Building the DC-15 rifle rack is real simple. I actually first designed this all the way back in my Jabim series last year, and as you can imagine, there wasn't much to improve on a box that holds guns, so the design is the same. And the nice thing is now I have 2 rifle racks and 2 rocket launcher racks for any future clone or military base I do. Let's make a quick pit stop at the entertainment complex to tile off the hallway and the rest of the roof, and boom, the tiling on this building is done, and it only took 9 months to finish. I was about to start the main project of the week when I had a very unfortunate realization. So, here's what's going on. I was about to start laying out these pillars when I realized I really don't know where they need to be. Because I know we talked last week how, with the overhang of the roof, I want to build that first and then put the pillars in so I can see where they need to go. But this week I decided, doesn't really matter. There is no specific spot they need to hit with the roof. Let's say this is the roof overhang right here. I have a lot of wiggle room here where the pillar can be pretty much anywhere in here. So I could put it right here and then, maybe it'd be 3 studs away from the edge or move it in and before. Anyways, you get the picture. But this is not where the roof's going to be because I was planning on, or I've been thinking of, tapering this wall outward like this as it continues on upward, because the actual Senate building is like a giant cereal bowl. It slants out the higher you get. So if I were to do that, that would drastically change the overhang of the roof. It could go from here to all the way up to here, and then if I put my pillar in right there, it wouldn't even be close to being in the right spot. So if I were to take that gamble and just guess where the pillars were to be and then put them all in and then tile off the floor, I'd have to rip everything up, move the pillars, which would be a huge pain. It's just not really worth the risk. So unfortunately, work on the Senate building has once again come to a halt. The good news is I've got 700 more of these 1x3 bricks coming this week, so I should be able to get a lot more progress done on the wall and kind of start that slant, because I don't need to have it finished. I just need to have enough of it started so I know a general idea of where the roof is going to be. Then I can put the pillars in. I am disappointed that I came to this realization after I tore up all of this tile, because it wasn't in its final form anyways. I just had that all down so I could take thumbnails and pictures, but now that it's all ripped up, I can't do that anymore unless I want to take the time to put down another temporary row. But while I'm here, I might as well show you guys some other stuff I've been working on. So I pretty much finished the speeder. I replaced all the light bluish gray brick except for this one slope on the bottom and then the plates running along the middle. So hopefully the next time you see this, it'll be all finished. I'm really liking the color scheme though. I do wish I could have kept the whole thing dark blue. I don't really like the dark bluish gray. I feel like there's too many colors on this, but I couldn't find any of these pieces or these pieces in dark blue. I also forgot to show you guys the finished frame. The first thing on this mock to be finalized. I know it's not a huge thing, but it's something that's been finished regardless. One thing I did do was I was going to have the frame stop right here with this seam, but this seam is having a hard time closing just because, the size of these, and they're so tall that they tend to create a little bit of a gap right there. And so I actually ran the frame past the seam. You can see it connects to both sides of the mock, and I felt like this helped close the gap a little bit and just made this whole thing more secure. It has been a little bit of a problem though, because I keep forgetting that these two sections are now connected, so I try to go to slide it apart and nothing happens. But all I have to do is pop off the frame on this side and that other side. Moving over to the clone base, it is finally finished. Obviously the minifigs still need to go in, and maybe there'll be some more random crates, but the general structure and build is all done. Very happy with how it looks. The armory is finished as well. I've got everything I want in there. I was gonna have some boxes in the middle right there, but it felt like it would have been way too cramped. So I threw in a little mortar on this side with some shells right there, and then on that side are some random boxes, and I think that'll be enough, especially because, you know, this thing is going to be pretty much cleaned out by this point in the battle, so there's no point in having it full of weapons because they're all going to be used. And what a week for finishing things. I got all the tiling done finally on this building, except for, you know, adding some like final greebling pieces, but the base level of tiling is done. And I got everything tiled off down here as well. But the only thing that has to be done in here now is continuing this roof all across the mock, and then I'm trying to decide what to do with the back here. Originally, I was just going to build another light bluish gray wall like this and run it the whole way, but that was when this mock had been flipped around, so everybody who walked in would immediately see all of this. But now that it's tucked away in the corner, I'm actually thinking about leaving it open, and then when I do the finale walkthrough, I'll just, you know, come down here at this level and maybe throw in like 3 rows of brick right here to just slightly cover it up and leave this whole top part exposed, because if I show everyone what it looks like from this perspective, you won't even be able to see that it's open up here, and that'll save me a ton of time and brick. Well, to cap off the week, I guess I'm going to go back to tiling, which is probably a good thing, as this entertainment complex is the next thing that needs to be finished. This week ended up being very productive and fruitful, even with the large roadblock of the Senate building pillars. I was able to mostly finish 2 very large sections and get the entire frame done, so this ended up being a key catch-up episode, allowing me to bring the overall progress bar of the mock up quite a bit. But it can be hard to feel like I accomplished a lot when the main thing I wanted to do still isn't done. I finished the second story wall as well. Looking back, if I could rebuild Coruscant, I think I would replace this entertainment complex section with another apartment complex. This would have allowed for more skyscrapers in the mock and a lot less interior building for me. But I think when it's all done, you'll enjoy the little stories and builds in here, so it's probably for the best that I went this route. People love a good interior. Well, this wild week of building is at an end, so what's gonna happen next week? This was a good week. I kind of ended it a little disappointed just because I was so fixated on being able to get those pillars in and move the Senate building forward. But as I sit here and look at Coruscant, it looks more complete than it normally does at the end of, you know, one of these updates. And I think that's because I finally got the front of the entertainment complex all tiled off and finished. So now instead of all this bright green filler brick staring at me, I get to look at this nice smooth tiled off wall. As far as next week goes, I really want to get those pillars in. So by extension, I'm also going to have to get the design figured out for the Senate building and figure out how I'm going to get it to slope outwards as I continue building up. And I'm really excited to see how future Ethan does that, because as of right now, I have no idea how that's going to happen. And hopefully I'll get my Lego Pick-a-Brick package that I've been waiting on for like 2 months now, so I can do the statues and some other stuff. But if not, you know me, there's always something to cook up for Coruscant. All that being said, that wraps up this update. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and let me know what you thought about everything down below in the comments, and I will catch you next time. But until then, happy building.